you got soap finished. Now we're ready to go to the next step. And that is very simply this. If you're like most students. Now you start skimming down through the passage and looking for those rhetorical strategies, rhetorical devices I should say, and marking all of those and deciding which 3 you're going to use for your body paragraphs, right?
Yes.
And that's why you fail. Like I said, like most students, that's what they do. I shouldn't say most, many students do that. And that's why they don't pass. Because it said in the prompt to do what? Analyze. Right? Well, how do you analyze? What do you analyze? You analyze, it tells you in the prompt. Look at it again. Okay? Analyze how Barry uses rhetorical strategies to characterize scientific research. And that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, we're going to back up a little bit and do a couple more steps that are going to help you in your analyzing. Okay? Turn your paper over. Now on the back of it, in the top left corner, I want you to put the word go. All right? Then skip down a line or so. I know there are no lines on there, but about a line or so. And put the word strategy. And then skip down another couple of lines or so and put the word devices. Now, this is an outline of how we're going to get ready to compose our rhetorical analysis essay. But so that you understand exactly what we're doing here, I'm going to give you an analogy that you may have heard something similar to it before, but this is a sports analogy. And before you sit there and start rolling your eyes, just bear with me here. Excuse me, because I know some of you think, oh no, another sports story or whatever. So don't block this out, because even if you know nothing about sports, you don't keep up with any kind of sports, it's fine. You're still going to get this, and students have said over and over that this helps them as they get ready to do their analysis. Now, so let's talk about it. The analogy I'm going to use is this year's Super Bowl. Okay? You had LA versus New England. And I'm going to walk you through the process that New England could have or must have used to win the game. So our speaker here is going to be Bill Belichick, even though it's not just him, it's the coach, all of his assistants, blah, 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 okay? But just bear with me for this analogy. So, he had one goal going into the Super Bowl. What was that goal? Win the game. Okay, so out beside of the word goal, I want you to write win the game. Okay? Now, in order to win the game, he needed a strategy. And like a writer tries to understand their target audience when they're developing a strategy to achieve their goal, he had to understand what he was trying to achieve and what he had to do to get it done. So they came up with a strategy. And for just conversation here, let's say that the strategy was to shut down LA's run game. Okay? So the strategy is shut down LA's run game. Okay? Now, why do I say that? Well, because he had studied LA and he knew what was going to be effective. Okay? He thought he knew what was going to be effective. He planned it out. Now, why shut down LA's run game? Because that was the strongest part of their game. LA had two super duper running backs. Those are the guys who run with the ball. Okay? And they were not that great at passing the ball. A young quarterback who wasn't really known for his passing ability to start with. And so, New England said, okay, this is going to be the biggest game of his career. He's relatively young, relatively inexperienced. He's never been in a Super Bowl before. He's not that great a passer to start with. LA depends on their running game. So if we can really shut down their running game, then we're going to make them beat us with the pass, and we don't think they can. Okay? So their strategy was shut down LA's run game. And that strategy would help them do what?
Win the game.
Win the game. There's our connection. Okay? Now, since they have a strategy and they have a goal, now they have to have devices. What are the devices? No, not the players, but the plays. They had to design plays specifically for shutting down LA's run game. Okay? Not just any plays, but specifically designed plays for the personnel they were going to be facing. Okay, so now they have devices. The devices are employed for what reason? To accomplish the strategy. The strategy is employed for what? To accomplish the goal. You with me so far? All right. Now, let's look at this from a completely different perspective. Let's look at it from this selection that we're reading today. Okay? Go back and think about it. What was his goal? All right. What strategy did he employ? And then we can look at the devices. Too many times on rhetorical analysis, students want to go straight to the devices. Oh, let's find some devices. Let's give some examples of devices. And then, the analysis part, where you talk about how the author is using those devices to accomplish his strategy and or goal, that's where you crash and burn because you didn't do this first. And that's why you get the failing scores, non-qualifying scores, okay? That's why you get them, because the analysis is weak or non-existent. The reason students don't do analysis is because they don't know this part first. You can't analyze how somebody is using a device to accomplish something if you don't know what it is they're trying to accomplish. So that's where we are now. So we're going to take a few minutes and go back and look at the passage and see if we can come up with the author's goal, strategy, and then we'll come back and talk about devices, okay?